Hey guys, so in this video I just wanted to give a quick rundown of how my first nationals went. This was my first nationals competition ever. It was the first comp I've ever been to actually that was more than 2 days, and I learned a lot from it and have a lot of really cool ideas for the future. Not a lot of cool ideas, but a couple cool ideas for the future, and I'm really excited for next year, next summer, and training for that. So this video is just like a pretty normal 4x4 average of 12 for me. It was like a 33 point something. Nothing special, nothing terrible, just like pretty middle of the road average for me. And that's kind of how this comp went just in general, but I'll talk more about that. There's a lot to get to. So a little bit of just background info. I didn't have much time to practice in the months leading up to nationals. So really, all the practice I did was in 3x3. So I really didn't have any expectations for this comp. I didn't know what averages to expect. Even for 3x3, I was kind of just like, I don't know what times I'm going to be getting because I wasn't even really sure what I was averaging. But especially for 4, 5, and 6, I was like, there's just no way for me to predict what I'm going to get. And I was fine with that. I didn't really care. The events I signed up for were 2 through 6 one-handed, and that was it. I don't practice 2x2 or one-handed, and I ended up actually not even competing in 2x2. So you can tell how much I really don't care about those events. The first event that I competed in was OH, and I got a 15:09 single, which about an hour and a half afterwards I realized was a PR by over a second. So I mostly did that event just to sort of like get used to being on stage and maybe try and figure out how to calm down my nerves, and I was feeling like pretty okay. I think the average was like 19 flat or something. Last time I did one-handed was at my last competition in April, so I literally have not practiced that one at all. And 15 single, I'm pretty happy with. I'm not going to complain about that. 5x5, again, I had no expectations and ended up getting a 103 single, which was PR by 5 seconds. That's all was kind of crazy, I'm not going to lie. I messed up a bunch. At least I felt like I messed up a bunch. And ended up just getting a really, really good solve. And then the average was 112 something, which was also PR by about a second. And I literally, again, I had not really practiced 5x5 for a couple months, so that was really surprising to me. And I kind of felt that day that I have a lot of potential for improvement in 5x5. Like, out of every event, I think I have most potential to improve in 5x5 because, like I said, I was making mistakes left and right and still PRing. So I have a strong feeling that I can get really fast at 5x5 within the next year, but I'll talk more about my goals at the end of this little run through. So for the first day, those were the only 2 events that I did. This competition was like very spread out, which I think is good because it sort of gives you time to warm up for these events. And like I said, since I hadn't practiced, really the only practice I got was while warming up. So day 2 was 4x4 and 6x6, and on 4x4 in the spring, when I was practicing a lot more, I was averaging like 32, 33. While warming up at the comp, I actually ended up getting 1 sub 30 average, which was pretty good, and I broke my PB average of 12, but I think I kind of over warmed up, and my hands started to get tired by the time I got called up. The thing about this competition was they were consistently like 20 minutes behind. Like every single event was 20 minutes behind. So I ended up warming up a little bit more than I should have and got a 34.42 average, which is still fine. I wasn't upset with that. I only really messed up bad on one solve, but the other ones were completely okay, and I felt like I did decently, so I really can't complain. I did get a lot of parodies, I remember that, so 34 with a bunch of parodies is actually not that far off of a normal average for me. And that actually puts me 930th in the world for average, which is pretty cool. So I'm not too upset about that. And it made round 2, so I was pretty excited. And I was like, didn't do super well, but I have a second chance, so I can get a better average in the second round. Later in that day was 6x6, and this was the first event where I had no nerves whatsoever. I was averaging like 208-ish, 207 in the spring when I was practicing more consistently, but while warming up I was getting like 215 averages, so I really didn't care about 6x6 going into it. I was like, this is... my PR average is 218, so I'll probably beat that, but I don't really care by how much. First solve was a 202, and one of my friends, he was filming me and said that he was expecting the solve to be around 215, and around 155 he was like noticing that I was almost done and was really confused about how it was going to take me another 20 seconds to finish it. He was like, what are you going to do for the next 20 seconds? And then boom, I was just done. So the 202 was good. The next solve was a 205, I think. And at that point I looked at the judge. I was like, I'm not this fast at 6x6. And then the last solve was a 223. So the mean ended up being 210. But this is actually my best ranking now in the WCA. It's 876th in the world for single and 834th for mean. Day 3 was 3x3 and 4x4 round 2, and we don't talk about how 3x3 went. It was not good. First solve was a 13. Ended up with a counting 11, I'm pretty sure. And the average is like 985, which is about 2 seconds off of my at-home average. 4x4 round 2, though, this was important. So that entire day was just complete chaos. There was so much going on. This was the biggest day of the competition. There were like 2,000 people in that room. It was so loud and chaotic. And after 3x3 round 1, so like half an hour before 4x4, I just went off, found the quietest place in the convention center I could, and just sat there for like 15 minutes. Just like completely alone. And that seemed to really help like clear my head. And then I went into 4x4 round 2 feeling pretty confident. My first solve was not bad. It was a 37, I think, but it had double parity. So like it was okay. My hands were kind of shaky. The second solve I was next to Max Park, so that was completely awful. That was not a good solve at all. But the other solves in the average were 33, 33, and 31. And I literally was not shaky at all for these. I was breathing perfectly. My hands weren't like super sweaty or anything. I was focused. I was looking ahead perfectly, and nothing went wrong in those solves. 33, 33, and 31. So if I hadn't been next to Max Park for that one solve, I think that could have been a really good average, but it ended up being another 34 average, which is fine. The most important thing is that I really learned something from that. Day 4 was 3x3 round 2. Again, did awful. We don't talk about that either. All that matters is we learned a lot from this competition, and probably the biggest takeaway for me is I finally have a routine to calm my nerves. So what's next? Where do I go from here? I want to do North American Champs next year. And there are rumors of it being somewhere in Heartland. So if this is the case, there's like a 50-50 chance I can go. Again, not 100% sure. It really kind of just depends on where it is. But, there's a non-zero chance that I will end up going to that. And that's only a year away, which is not a lot of time. It sounds like a lot of time, but it's not. I'm just going to focus on 3 events. 3x3, 4x4, and 5x5. Because like I said, 5x5 is where I feel like I have the most improvement, and 3 and 4 are my favorite events anyway. So might as well focus on those if I'm going to pick just a few. My goal for 3x3 is to average sub 6.2 globally by that competition. Currently, my global average at home is like 7.8, 7.9 on a good day. So this is kind of far off, but I think it's actually achievable. And you guys will follow me on my journey in the future to see like how I think that's achievable, but I'll talk about that in a minute. 4x4, I think I can get sub 28 globally, and 5x5 sub 55 globally feels possible. So let me just tell you guys about what my big idea is here. I want to take you on this journey with me. I'm going to call this series Road to World Class, and I don't know how often I'll be posting, but it'll at least be one video a month, probably a little bit more often than that. And it'll be videos like this where I have solves and I'll be talking over it, but I'll be going in depth. I'll be talking about what I was practicing during that session, what I'm focusing on, what I'm trying to improve. And hopefully you guys can learn some stuff with me about how to get really fast, at these high levels, because there isn't that much info on YouTube about how to improve past like 10 seconds on 3x3. There's some room for some expansion onto this, so there could be like live streams of my practice sessions. If that's something you guys are interested, let me know in the comments. And I have some ideas to expand the series to some other types of videos, but I don't want to give away too much or promise anything before that happens. So for now, all that's going to happen is videos like this one where I go in depth into my practice sessions, and hopefully we can learn some stuff together. So that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, or you're looking forward to these videos, this Road to World Class series I'm doing, let me know in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. And as always, keep on solving.